Welcome to the NRL previews for round 23 of the 2023 season. I'm Renee Garton and I'm joined by Josh Mansour to unpack all the games for this weekend. We have 5 weeks left of the regular season. The top 8 battle is absolutely heating up, and we kick off on Thursday night at the Sydney Cricket Ground with the Roosters and Manly. It's an old boys flavour. The Roosters are celebrating their 10-year reunion of their 2013 grand final victory. Josh, they're a long way from that grand final team, but it was an impressive year that year, wasn't it?
Very impressive. Yeah, star-studded pack, similar to this year, but unfortunately a lot of off-field and distraction leading to this team. And I think a lot of that comes off the back of, with the World Cup, a lot of players on duty there and just not enough training sessions together, I feel. I feel like there's been a lot of pressure on Brandon Smith coming into the team as well. And of course, you look at that spine. You know, they've had Luke Keary out for a number of games and also Sam Walker. So there's been a lot of change at the Roosters, and unfortunately they just haven't kicked on.
Yeah, and Robbo said he was a bit disappointed with their energy levels coming out of that game as well too. So, I mean, we'll move over to Manly though. It's the second time that these two teams have already come together this year. The Sea Eagles pinched the win last time.
Would have loved that.
They really need this win again to basically keep their season alive.
Well, both teams do. It's win or die from here on in. And the Manly Sea Eagles are playing with a bit more form than the Roosters. And I feel like Cherry Evans last week, 300th game, unbelievable effort and coming up with a very, very good win. Almost lost it, but they got the win in the end. And now they really have to back up again this week against the Roosters, who are also fighting for their final spot.
Does that back of the game fade with Manly worry you at all, especially coming up against a team like the Roosters?
Well, it's happened 2 weeks in a row.
Yeah.
It happened against the Sharks, and definitely happened last week. So against the Roosters, they need a win. There's no doubt about that. The Manly Sea Eagles need a win, so it is going to be a big game. And the only worry about for the Manly Sea Eagles is, like you said, that second half fade out.
All right. Well, have you got a pick for this one?
I'm going to go with the Manly Sea Eagles. I feel like they're in form at the moment. I feel like the Roosters they're still hobbling there, so I'm going to go with your Birds.
All right, we like it, Bird Gang. All right. That's the one opening us up on Thursday night. Unmissable matchups are taking place all weekend though, so if you want to see this match live, head to nrl.com/tickets. If you can't get to the game, you can watch it on Channel 9, Foxtel, Sky New Zealand or Kayo. Kick-off is at 7:50 p.m. Welcome to the NRL previews for round 23 of the 2023 season. I'm Renee Garton and I'm joined by Josh Mansour, and we're going to be unpacking all this weekend's games. We've got 5 weeks left of the regular season. Can't get my words out. The top 8 battle is definitely heating up, and this one is not any different. The Gold Coast Titans, they claimed a great scalp against the Cowboys last week.
Big win.
The Warriors are fresh off the bye. To the Titans first, though, AJ Brimson had a bit of a stomach injury that sort of happened in the game last week.
Yep.
He has been named at fullback, which means Jaden Campbell then goes to the bench. But there was sort of a difference in where they moved AJ when they brought Jaden back on. How do you see this partnership playing out?
I don't think it was really planned, to be honest. I think the coach just kind of thought on the run, and it worked. AJ Brimson's a gun, you got Jaden Campbell's a gun, and I think it just adds a bit of luxury to their attack. You know, you got 2 fullbacks that could roam the field. The only difficulty is in defence. You know, they're coming up against Pompey on the centres, one of the biggest centres in the game at the moment, and in form. So that's going to be a challenge there. But for the Titans overall, I thought their defensive resolve last week was outstanding, particularly against the Cowboys outfit. And the Cowboys were knocking on the door constantly that game, and the Titans kept up coming up with their answers in defence, so massive plus for them. Well,
as the cliche goes, a lot of confidence comes out of a win, but as mentioned with the Warriors, they had the weekend off last week. The question with them though is, are they going to be better for the bye, or is it going to have put a little slump in their momentum? I
feel like with their form at the moment, I feel like it's definitely going to benefit them. I feel like they really rely on those effort areas in the game, and the bye couldn't have come at a better time, in my opinion, and particularly travelling away to the Gold Coast. Yeah. It is a good trip away for the boys, but in my opinion, the Warriors will definitely benefit from that bye and come up against a Titans side that, again, is fighting for those finals hopes.
I used to work for the Titans, and this is almost a home game for the Warriors. There's so many Kiwis up on the Gold Coast, which will add to the atmosphere as well.
Brisbane as well. Every time I've played up in Queensland, there's so many Kiwi guys and girls up there, and every time we're playing in front of those fans, it's awesome to see. So, yeah, hopefully the Warriors get a good turnout for them.
All right, so you're on the Wires.
I'm on the Wires.
All right. Thanks very much, Josh. Unmissable matchups taking place all weekend. If you want to see this match live, head to nrl.com/tickets. If you can't get to the game, you can watch it on Foxtel, Sky New Zealand or Kayo. Kick-off is at 6 p.m. Welcome to the NRL previews for round 23 of the 2023 season. I'm Renee Gardner and I'm joined by Josh Mansour to unpack all the games for this weekend. 5 weeks left, Josh.
Crazy, time flies.
And top 8 is looking very, very tight, including everyone below that line as well.
Very, very exciting, yeah. So the finals is up for grabs for a lot of teams, particularly this week, and I think this is going to be the biggest game for this round.
Well, it potentially is one of the biggest blockbusters that we're going to see this weekend. It is the Panthers hosting the Storm at home in Penrith. They got the chocolates in their last encounter against the Storm.
Yep.
They get Isaac Tungo back. Zach Hoskin comes back in also to replace Tyrone Peachey as well. Real question is, though, are they going to be able to contain Nathan Cleary? Because he's been looking very sleek out there.
Well, he had a lot of time last week against the Cronulla Sharks, so I'm sure the Melbourne Storm are going to be looking at that and trying to eliminate as much time as possible from Nathan. They do have Big Nelson on the edge there running at Jerome Luai as well. So, in my opinion, Nathan's got the best kicking game in the game. He is coming up against an inexperienced backline in the Melbourne Storm, so big job for those kind of guys. And overall, it's going to be a big job for the Melbourne Storm playing out in Penrith.
I know you didn't like to tackle Nelson as well too, so...
Yeah, no, that wasn't fun. Still gives me nightmares, so enjoy that, Jerome.
All right, well, over to the Storm. It's the light at the end of the tunnel as well too. Ryan Pappenhausen is set to make his long-awaited return. Although it's back through Queensland Cup in the Sunshine Coast Falcons. But a big one this week, though, Josh, is Nelson Asofa-Solomona. Sorry, I've got to get that out. Comes back from an injured finger. Another big in. As I said, you don't like tackling him. He's a scary man.
Well, you say you can't run without legs, but look at the size of the things. So I've still got a numb shoulder from tackling him. But yeah, he's a big in for me. Obviously, he traditionally plays through the middle, but now he's back on the edge. So he's going to be giving the third man in a lot of nightmares. So this week is Jerome Luai. I'm sure he'll be wearing his shoulder pads for this game, and for me, Melbourne Storm got one of the biggest forward packs in the comp.
Yeah.
They're going to be relied on heavily, but saying that, they're going to the back five is going to be relied on to get them out of trouble. So it's going to be a big clash for the middle, in my opinion, against the Storm and the Panthers.
Who's going to win this one?
I'm going to say the Panthers. I feel like they're playing well across the park. It's going to be a big ask for the Melbourne Storm to travel to Penrith. Penrith Stadium is a bit of a fortress as of late and a bit of a graveyard for some teams. So I'm going to say the Panthers.
Oh, graveyard, grim. All right, well, we look forward to seeing Pappenhausen back in the Storm jersey as well too. But right now, it is unmissable matchups taking place all weekend and tickets are selling fast. So if you want to see this match live, head to nrl.com/tickets. If you can't get to the game, remember you can watch it on Channel 9, Foxtel, Sky New Zealand or KO. Kick-off is 8 p.m. Welcome to the NRL previews for round 23 of the 2023 season. I'm Renee Gardner and I'm joined by Josh Mansour to unpack all the games for this weekend. Saturday afternoon begins in North Queensland for a sold-out game. These teams had some great battles during the past decade and it's a battle they both rise to. The Cowboys first, though. They need a good rebound from last week against the Titans.
Yeah, definitely. Very disappointing last week. They just had no answers in attack, unfortunately, and they just got picked apart by the Titans' attack. And as you can see, a great vision from that grand final win by the Cowboys and what a finish that was. But there is a lot of rivalry in this game. So it's going to be a big game for the Cowboys, in my opinion. They are just outside the 8 there. So if the Broncos want to retain that, will earn that minor premiership, they've got to win this game.
All right, well, over to the Broncos. They were very physical. They controlled the first half. Kevin Walters was happy with the first half. The second half, he just said they lacked a bit of energy, but he did say that for both the Roosters and Broncos.
Yep.
But that's something that they're going to need to lift coming into the back end of the season.
Yeah, for sure. And they are coming up against a very desperate Cowboys outfit, and particularly playing them at home. It's going to be a big game, no doubt. But the Broncos were outstanding last week. They were a bit fading in the second half, we should say. But there was exciting vision, I should say, as well, with Pat Carrigan going over the try line. You should see all the boys celebrating. I don't know if it was because of the try or just because he doesn't have to do the nudie run. So that's left up for discussion.
Poor Tyrone Smoothie, though.
Oh, yeah, Tyrone Smoothie as well. Massive collision with the referee there, so unlucky for him. But, yeah, it's going to be a big game. A lot of excitement here, so I can't wait to watch it personally.
All right, but you're going to have to watch it from home, though, Josh, because the game is sold out at Queensland Country Bank Stadium, but it's unmissable matchups taking place. Hopefully you got yourself a ticket. If not, you can watch this blockbuster game on Foxtel, Sky New Zealand or KO. Kick-off is at 3 p.m. Welcome to the NRL previews for round 23 of the 2023 season. I'm Renee Gardner and I'm joined by Josh Mansour to unpack all the games for this weekend. Next up, Saturday afternoon, we're heading to Perth for the double header with the Dolphins and Knights kicking us off. There's already 50,000 plus tickets sold, so there's going to be pretty full stadium for this one. It's
How
huge.
exciting. Massive game. Neutral ground for both teams as well, so I'm sure it's going to be exciting. In AFL territory as well, I might add.
We don't talk about them. Yeah. All right, on to Wayne Bennett's men. They shocked the NRL world with their performance at the beginning of the year. They were hampered by injuries during the middle.
Yep.
They're starting to suffer a bit of that fate. A lot of the players that they've sort of signed at the start hadn't played a lot of NRL. Would that have sort of come into play in terms of having that leg endurance?
It does play its part, 100%. But I think for me, it's just the injuries. You can't just predict those. It's been a lot of disruption for the Dolphins, and early in the season, they'll fly under the radar. No one knew what they were going to bring, what they were going to offer, and now everyone knows they've got the hammer, they've got Marshall at dummy half, they've got star players in that team that do possess a lot of threat. But unfortunately, they're not flying under the radar now anymore, and injuries have hurt them in the long run.
We'll speak about a team who's no longer flying under the radar as well too. It's the Knights. They had the opposite season for them, started poorly and have come out with a wet sail coming into this. Has Kalen Ponga been the biggest difference this time?
What do you think?
Yeah.
He's
the obvious question, right? I'm just trying to lead to the golden egg.
He's the $1 million man. He's peaking at the right time for the Newcastle Knights, and they're just firing. They need to play finals footy this year. They do have the team to make something of it. Dominic Young with an amazing finish there. He's been on fire for him. I believe he's a top try scorer this year as well. And I feel like the biggest threat for them is their attack on the edges there. They are coming up against Cody Nikorima, who is named in the centres for the Dolphins, and a very inexperienced Tafare. So there's going to be a lot of threats coming down those channels, and I'm sure there's going to be a lot of points in the Newcastle Knights team.
Okay, so picking Knights over Dolphins?
I'm going to pick the Knights. Yep,
It's the first time I've seen you drop the fin.
Yeah, well, I didn't go the Knights last week, and
You got burnt.
I got burned. Yeah, so I'm going the Knights this week.
All right, well, as we've mentioned, this game is close to sell out, so make sure you head to nrl.com/tickets to see if you can get your hands on some. If not, you can watch this game on Foxtel, Sky New Zealand or KO. Kickoff is at 5:30 p.m. Welcome to the NRL previews for round 23 of the 2023 season. I'm Renee Garton and I'm joined by Josh Mansour to unpack all the games for this weekend. Saturday night wraps up the Souths and Sharks battling it out in Perth in their Australian tour. Firstly, amazing scenes at Tamworth last week. Country Rugby League is alive and well.
Straight into it like a rock band, huh? Good for the boys. Obviously massive win against the Tigers last week for the Bunnies. Their attacking flair is back, and that man, Latrell Mitchell, second game coming back this week, and hopefully can build more confidence as he goes and match fitness. They're going to be a very, very dangerous outfit in the weeks to come. But massive win and a big game from Lockie Ellis, in my opinion, as well. Is just getting more confidence.
And they take a lot of their games over to Perth. This isn't the first time they've done it. And I think that's reflective of the fact that it's basically sold out. It's going to be a great atmosphere for these two teams to come up against each other.
Oh, it's going to be a massive atmosphere. Like you said, the Bunnies, it's pretty much a home game for them. 50,000 so far. It's going to be an awesome turnout, and hopefully they can rack on the points against a very desperate Sharks team. All
right, desperate Sharks team, but they are looking at breaking records. Maybe again, Cam McInnes, 81 tackles. That's more than one tackle a minute. It's insane, but they can't let them do that again.
It's sickening. I've got ice packs on my shoulders after 9 tackles on the wings. So 81 tackles is absolutely unheard of. Massive game from Cam, and particularly in the middle, man. They really do a lot of work there, and as you can see, he's an absolute warhorse, and he adds a lot of effort through that middle and does all the dirty stuff. So, big raps to Cameron McInnes.
What do they need to do? Because we've spoken about, there's a lot of talk about their confidence at the moment.
Yeah.
This is a team that, if they can come out fast, flying out of the gate in the first 10 minutes, that's a massive confidence, smasher. How are they going to turn around that?
Well, against the Souths especially, if they come out firing, they're a massive confidence team, and they're not going to be stopped if they give them a fast start. So the Sharks definitely got to start fast. They are a bit low in confidence, like you said, and the thing with that is, well, I'm sure the players are going out there every day on the training paddock, doing their reps and working really hard for each other, but unfortunately the results aren't showing, and it seems the harder you work, the hole gets deeper and bigger, and unfortunately that's where the Sharks find themselves at the moment. I don't feel like the effort's still there. They are working hard for each other, but unfortunately, the scoreboard is not reflecting that. So it is going to be a big test this week, but it is a neutral ground, end of the day. They are both two teams that are having to travel all the way to Perth. who handles the travel better and who prepares better is going to win this game.
Okay, who do you think that's going to be?
Oh, being an ex-Bunnies man,
Okay. So loyal. All right, thank you so much, Josh. Unmissable matchups taking place. As we've mentioned, this game is close to selling out. So if you want to try and snatch one of those tickets, nrl.com/tickets. If you can't get to the game, you can watch this one on Foxtel, Sky New Zealand or Kayo. Kickoff is at 7:35 p.m. Welcome to the NRL previews for round 23 and 2023 season. I'm Renee Gardner and I'm joined by Josh Mansour to unpack all the games for this weekend. And we kick off on Sunday with the Eels and Dragons, and the Eels have slipped from 7th back to 11th. Josh, they really need this one to stay in the winner's circle.
Yep.
They're going to need to iron out quite a few of their wrinkles, though, that's sort of been happening in the last few games.
Well, mathematically, they're still in the hunt for, to make that top 8, and unfortunately for the Dragons and the Tigers this year, they aren't. So that's how tight the competition is. You know, everyone's still a chance, or majority, I should say, but the Parramatta Eels definitely got to come out firing. They had a pretty disappointing loss last week, and old cliche, they've got to go back to the drawing board, and hopefully Mitch Moses can steer the boys across the park and get them this win.
They really still are missing Regan Campbell-Gillard and also obviously Sevo as well too. That difference has made, well, it's made a fair bit of a difference in the last couple of weeks.
Well, Regan has so much impact through the middle, and he does so much work for such a big man, and it's definitely got they're big shoes to fill, and unfortunately they haven't been filled as of late. Maika Sivo is their best finisher in that team. All their backline movement always goes down that left channel majority of the time, and Maika is one of the best at finishing it. So he has been a bit of a loss, but there's no excuses this time of year, unfortunately, for them.
Yeah, that's right. It's the next man up mentality. So let's look over to the Dragons, though. There's been some glimmers of hope for the side to restore their season and hopefully miss out on that wooden spoon.
Yep.
But how can they turn their fortune around this? Everything's sort of been a trial for Shane Flanagan coming in, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. Well, ideally, all the players are fighting for their contract from here on in, and you know they just got to go out there and put their best case forward. And they do have a new coach for next year, and this is all, like, every single game is an audition for that coach.
They came close in this game, though.
They did come close. Unfortunately, they just left it a bit too late. And you know, I feel for the Dragons. Everything's just gone against them this year, unfortunately, and they just got to go and put their best foot forward. And Tyrell Slow has been exciting. They do have a lot of excitement in their team. Ben Hunt is steering them across the park. He's been their shining light all season, but it doesn't get easier because they are coming up against Parramatta, who are just as desperate. All
right, out of two sides that are really fighting to turn their season, who are you going to pick?
I'm going to say Parramatta Eels, just going off the back of, you know, they want to play that finals football. They are the grand finalists from last year, so in my opinion, they do deserve to be in the top 8. They've had a couple of injuries, but I feel like they can get this game over the line.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Josh. As we've mentioned, unmissable matchups are taking place all weekend. If you want to secure tickets for this one and see it live, nrl.com/tickets. If you can't get to the game, you can watch it on Foxtel, Sky New Zealand or Kayo. Kickoff is at 2 p.m. Welcome to the NRL previews for round 23 of the 2023 season. I'm Renee Gardner and I'm joined by Josh Mansour to unpack all the games for this weekend, and it's the final game. Josh, it is the Raiders and West Tigers. They're battling it out in Canberra. The Raiders will be looking to restore faith to their home crowd as well too as they head home for this one. Despite that, they're restoring a little bit of discipline in their game as well too. 42 tackles missed, 16 errors. You can imagine how Ricky Stewart would have been in that shed. It's very out of character for how the Raiders have been playing this year. Very
out of character. I didn't see it coming. You know, Newcastle are playing with a lot of form as of late, but I thought the Canberra Raiders definitely had the team to beat them. But yeah, very disappointing loss last week. You're not going to put yourself in a position to win a game when you're doing that many errors. That's first and foremost, and particularly those missed tackles. That's the alarming stat for me. But yeah, again, with the Raiders, they are playing at home, so they get another opportunity to kind of make amends for last week and against a very, very desperate Tigers team. So let's wait and see what happens.
All right, well, over to the West Tigers, and of course, Coach Tim Sheens comes back to where he had some of his most successful days as a coach in the 80s and 90s. Not only Sheens, but you've got assistant coach David Furner in there, you've got player John Bateman. They were part of the 2019 grand final team. There was some pretty impressive football back then. You would have just been a young whippersnapper.
I was 4 years old for this game, can you believe it? But yeah, look at that beard line on Sheensy.
Oh, that's where you got the beard from.
Amazing beard line from Sheensy. Yeah, obviously Sheensy's he's won so many titles as a coach. He's very respected in the game, and there is a lot of guys like Bateman, like you said. You got Furner, so there's a lot to play for in this game and a lot to prove. So In my opinion, this guy right here is going to be a hard man to contain, and he's definitely got to go out there with a point to prove. And for me, for the Tigers, they just got to play exciting football. Luke Brooks, he's really got to steer the team. Week in, week out, he's got the pressure on his shoulders. There's no hiding that, but they are coming up against the Canberra Raiders team that are embarrassed from that last week's performance, and I'm sure we're not going to get that exact result.
You did talk about the Raiders last week being the danger on their edges, and that's where they made a lot of their mistakes as well too. Can West Tigers capitalise on that?
Well, that's another alarming stat. They were picked apart and they had no answers on those edges there. They were coming up against Kanaponga, one of the stars of the game, but there's no excuse there. I feel like there were opportunities where they could have solved it, but unfortunately for their missed tackles, they conceded those tries there. So there is a bit of an element of danger, in my opinion, for this game, but I still feel like they've got the star power to do it.
All right, so you're staying with the Raiders on this
I'm
one?
going to stick solid for the Canberra Raiders.
All right, well, maybe Sheensy will grow his beard back if they get the win.
I'll be impressed.
All right, thank you so much for all your chat this weekend as well too. Unmissable matchups taking place all weekend. If you want to see this match live, head to nrl.com/tickets. If you can't get to the game, you can watch it on Channel 9, Foxtel, Sky New Zealand or KO. Kickoff is at 4:05 p.m.